Welcome, everybody. We're going to go ahead and start. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you our next speaker, Nina Johansen from Montessori, Norway. Nina and I go way back, and she is such a role model for me. She has created or co-created, helped to create something very special in Norway. She's going to share about that. I had the privilege to visit her in Norway, to see some schools and to also visit her office. So I actually know where she's sitting right now. And since I have been in Montessori, whenever I thought, how can we do this on a national level in the Czech Republic, Nina was always my go-to person. So enjoy learning and hearing from Nina about competencies and national curriculums and Montessori cosmic education. Over to you, Nina. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mika. That was a very nice introduction. And yes, we go way back, and the feeling is mutual. So my ambitious goal for this session is that you, as elementary teachers or people interested in or connected with a Montessori elementary classroom somehow, will feel a bit more secure that Montessori is in fact an education for the future, if you were not already convinced about that. So I think also that hopefully you will see that in most areas, Montessori curriculum is quite well aligned with other more traditional curriculums, or it's possible to align. And it's also aligned with EU Key Competences. And I hope to show you that Montessori education can even provide solutions for challenges in traditional education that we see today. And I'm very grateful to be here to speak to you and share our experience today. So my name is Nina Johansen. I'm the Executive Director of Montessori Norway. I will tell you a little bit more about our organization very briefly. I'm Montessori trained 6 to 12 with Carla Foster, which you have just heard from. She was my trainer here in Norway. And I have worked previously in Montessori schools, both as a leader and in the classroom. So let's see. Just have to, there. So first, a short introduction to Montessori Norge, which is the organization I represent, and Montessori in Norway. So Montessori in Norway is, we have about 40 0 to 6 programs, 87 6 to 12 or 6 to 15 programs, and all of them are between 85 and 100% state funded. So I think this is a little bit important background to understand the setting in Norway. They are all private, independent, but they are also very accessible and non-profit. So in Norway, private schools do not mean elite. They are very accessible. And they are all members of our organization, Montessori Norge, which I think is also quite unique in a setting, international setting. And I think it explains a little bit of how we also got to have this curriculum. So Montessori Norge, Montessori Norway, is funded then by membership fee, and we're a non-profit organization, membership and interest organization that works to support the schools and kindergartens in different ways. And in Norway, about 95% of schools are public schools. It's a very strong public school sector, quite egalitarian, I will say, and education is free. It's a social democracy. Private schools usually need to offer an alternative. They're not very fond about, like the politicians, not very fond about competition. Just we can exist because we offer something different than the public schools. So that is also a little bit of important background. And we have a national approved, government recognized curriculum. And I think it's only Norway and Australia that actually has that. So very few countries have that. Some have it for the 3 to 6 or 0 to 6. but we have it for 6 to 15. So today I will first give you a very brief insight into the curriculum, the steps we have made and the basic layout and structure of it. And then I will focus a little bit more on sharing our lessons learned, our successes and challenges. And I understand that our countries and settings might be very different. So not everyone will have the possibility to do what we have done. And it might be not easily transferable, but I hope also that our journey might give some perspective and insight, and that you will find something to take away from it. So very briefly, we'll just move a little bit there. We started before 2005, there was no government-approved curriculum, only public curriculum that all the schools followed. And they had local plans and their albums and those sort of things. And I guess that's how it is many places. And then in 2005, 2006, the first Montessori approved curriculum appeared. And this was then, it consisted of many compromises. So it was quite similar to the public one in many ways, but still we had sort of the Montessori theory and everything in it. So it was a bit better and a bit more helpful. And still a milestone. But then after that, in 2011, 2013, there were smaller revisions. 12 to 15 was added, but still many compromises. And then in 2020, we had a very big and thorough revision of the curriculum. And our system of assessment, our own system of assessment was also approved, which was a big milestone. I will say a little bit more about it. So this work was not done by me or Montessori Norway alone. I led the last revision, 2020 and 2023. So I know the curriculum very well, but we were working in close cooperation with Carla Foster and also with the community, the Montessori community and schools around us. Let's see. So the curriculum is divided into 3 parts. Part 1 is the general section, and this applies to all ages, 6 to 15. It describes the core values and ideas that form the basis for the Montessori school's practice, in addition to our key pedagogical elements and our teaching principles. So next, we have 2 separate parts of the curriculum, one for the 6 to 12, which is called Cosmic Education, Kosmisk Utdanning, as you can see there, and then one for 12 to 15, which is called Center for Study and Work. And we describe these parts separately in more detail as they are pedagogically divided into 2 different planes of development. So they require a different approach and description. For both of these parts, first there is an introductory text, which is an elaboration of the general section, but also describing the pedagogical framework for this specific plane of development. And then it's followed by the curricula for individual subjects, which is maybe more recognizable in public curriculums as well. And it describes content, working methods, and learning goals. So I want to go back a little bit and tell you a bit about what challenges faced us when we did not have a curriculum. And I think these will be recognizable for most Montessorians. So the first one is already there. What is Montessori? I think that's something that many will struggle with in their country to sort of, it depends on who you ask. What is Montessori? It's not like an answer for that. And especially if people within education ask, that was the case in Norway as well. If the government asked someone in Norway, they would have one answer, and then they asked someone else, they would have a different answer. But with the curriculum, they will have sort of one answer. And then many countries will have non-Montessori trained teachers, assistants that are working in our schools. And if you don't have anything other than the trained teachers having their albums, then they don't have much, and it's not always that easy to sort of go into the full album. So before they are trained or before they have any courses, the curriculum can provide a framework to work inside that will give them a little bit. Not everything, but it's a good thing to have for those who are not trained. We have different teacher trainings, Montessori teacher trainings here in Norway, and I guess that's the thing all over the world. This is also something that sometimes can lead to challenges in a group, in a school, between schools, and arguing about which is better or what is the most correct or how to do it and those things. And I think curriculum might also be helpful to set a shared standard. So that was a challenge here that the curriculum has helped with a little bit. And then, of course, quality. What is quality Montessori? When is it good enough? How should it look? So shared standards is a problem everywhere, and I know that it's difficult to agree on shared standards. And also the pressure from outside, pressure to comply, assessment, external evaluation, and demands from governments and others will be a challenge many places. And this might lead us to not be able to do Montessori as well as we want to, because we don't have something to resist this. And basically also then lack of recognition, because sometimes you need a government approval and something to say that this is recognized. So these can be challenges, but also how can then a Montessori curriculum help? And I think in all of these areas in Norway, it has been very helpful. With the curriculum, the standards are set for everyone. We have some common ground. And the curriculum can also provide actually an incentive for teachers to do the Montessori training, as they will find that they need it to fully understand and work properly with the curriculum. And the curriculum is binding for everyone, so they have to follow it. It can also be helpful for non-Montessori trained teachers and assistants, or even just substitute teachers that will have something to work with in the groups. And when you have done the task of aligning curriculums and the government approval, we can say also to someone from the outside that our school follows an approved curriculum. So we can assure people that students in our schools receive equally good education, which is also helpful in speaking to parents or others from the outside. And it takes the pressure off a little bit also, and it provides a common language to help us express what Montessori is about and how and why we do things like we do. But even if we are well aligned with public curriculums and international guidelines, some might say that why can't we just follow the public curriculum? Well, during the process of leading this work, which included close cooperation with the Directorate of Education here in Norway, and also then a deep insight into the public curriculum and the big revision that they had at the same time as we did, I have been even more convinced of the importance of a recognized Montessori curriculum that really allows us to do Montessori as authentic as possible. And here you can see some of these international standards the EU Key Competences, 21st Century Skills, Sustainable Development Goals. All of these are international priorities and guidelines that has also influenced the Norwegian public curriculum in a huge way. And during this last revision, we saw that these were all being sort of taken into the public curriculum in Norway. But what has been also one of my key discoveries in this work is that when you talk about this sort of theoretically, we all agree. We mostly want the same things. So that was sort of a light bulb going up for me, because usually we feel that when I speak about we in Montessori, we focus on this and this, I will get from the public schools that we do that as well. But still, so what I see, what is actually different, I believe one of the major differences is that Montessori education is a holistic approach where everything we do support our goals and what we want to achieve. So the environment, the role of the adult, our practice and principles, and the curriculum. In many traditional schools, their goals are not supported by what they do and how they structure schools and their teaching. They struggle because the system, the structures, and all other elements of how they do school is sort of working against their goals, often unintended. The results may be that all these priorities and guidelines that we see on the picture here, they become just good intentions in a curriculum, theoretical priorities, but without the practical support to see real change. And I will give a few examples of what I mean by pointing to some of the concrete struggles that we had during the last curriculum revision that we did. So one of the big problems that we see when trying to align curriculums is that it's really an overall struggle to try to fit Montessori into the curriculum structure, because it is by default silo thinking, and it's fragmented. It's linear, and a lot of things that sort of just don't fit with Montessori. And we should be careful to try to fit too well, because curriculums are often thinking and writing in silos, and we should not do that. So even if I see in public schools that they are trying to sort of be more holistic, more focus on in-depth learning, interconnectedness, and things that we saw in the public schools, it often stays fragmented because they don't have that holistic approach from the sort of bottom up. So that was one of the things that we saw as a problem, and we needed to do something then in the curriculum to try to also describe how we are working holistically, even if we needed to put it into a structure. So this, you're not supposed to be able to read it. It's in Norwegian, but I have made an English version for you as well. I just wanted to show you the original. This is in the curriculum, and it's really describing very briefly the whole curriculum for 6 to 12. So it has all the great stories and how all the subjects and everything is interconnected. You can see it here in sort of self-made English version. And you're not supposed to read it. I know it's a bit small, but it gives you the impression that this is one of the things that we did to be able to show both for our schools, but also for people outside, how it is interconnected, and to remind our own schools that they need to do this, so that the curriculum sort of subject division and everything is not steering them in the wrong direction.
Dai da noite do soma?
Sí.
Michael.
So, and interconnectedness was also a big goal in the public Norwegian curriculum. But what we saw was that you see the teacher training is subject divided, and the subjects are very separate in the curriculum. The teachers teach their own subject within a set schedule and things like that. That makes it very difficult for them to actually work interconnected. And now there are coming a few evaluations of the public curriculum here in Norway, which is showing that they are not succeeding in working interconnected. So I think we have some advantages in Montessori here, and this was something that was a challenge to describe in the curriculum. I will show you one more example, which is you're not supposed to be able to read this as either, but it gives you an impression. This is for every subject. We also have these charts that shows how things are connected within a subject. So this is for arithmetic and for history and society. And it shows how things are interconnected and tries to sort of to frame the subject a little bit. And another challenge is that competence aims and assessment, to be able to get our curriculum approved, we needed to have most of the same competence aims as the public schools and also the same system of assessment. And this can shift our focus a bit to be about specific learning outcomes, almost like a checklist, instead of doing what we're supposed to do and inspiring interest, preparing the environment for children to discover things for themselves, giving them keys for further exploration and things like that. So competence aims, it doesn't have to be all bad as long as we don't let them steer too much. But in my experience, that's not easy. And many teachers are maybe afraid that they won't check all of them and they become very preoccupied with the competence aims. So we needed to do something to try to move away from that and sort of lessen the focus on competence aims. This was a non-negotiable thing for the government. We needed to have them. We couldn't just find our own things. So but we did something that I think has been quite successful. So this is just a little brief takeout from the curriculum. And we asked ourselves, how can we sort of make our pedagogy visible in relation to the competence aims? We chose to describe key materials that you as a teacher should use in different subjects. So what you see here is, for example, one focus area, which in geography, which is called Sun and Earth. And then we have written down key materials. On the right side, you can see from language. And key materials is there to help the teacher see what they should be working with. And then key discoveries was something that we put in so that we can focus on what we would like the children to actually discover, and not start with the competence aims and teach about those. But if the children are actually doing these discoveries, maybe more, maybe less, maybe not all of them. It's not like a checklist. It's just to shift the focus a little bit. The competence aims will usually follow. They will check off those as well, but it's not as rigid as with just these. So I think this has shifted the focus a little bit and been helpful. And also a big thing, in 2023 we had the approval that we could follow our own system of evaluation. We needed to describe our own system of evaluation. And one of the things we did was that we no longer needed to take public exams. They still get grades, but we have less focus on them. And the system we have now makes it more easy for us to focus on the Montessori way of assessing students, more holistic, focus on observations and conversations with students. And I don't have time to go into details, but I will also say that when the government approved this, it means that they see that our system is equally good as the public one, and our students will have the same rights to further education and enrollment in upper secondary and things like that. So, but we get to do Montessori better. So, those are a few examples of lessons learned, and I think I want to share a final reflection as well. So we ask ourselves, maybe, does Montessori and our albums and theory and everything, does it cover everything? Do we have it all? That's a question that you are faced with when trying to aligning Montessori curriculum with a public curriculum, and maybe also with EU Key Competencies. I dare say that we cover most of what is important in education and for the children's development during the elementary years. But facing the work of aligning EU competencies and public curriculums with Montessori, it forces us to reflect upon areas that might need to be better developed within the Montessori community as well. So this is maybe this case for digital skills. And if we don't reflect upon it, then the pitfall is that we might just adopt the way traditional schools are doing things. Maybe forced, maybe voluntary, but this was the case in Norway when it came to the digital skills, and Norway was very early on in digitalizing school. And students usually have one-on-one iPads in schools. And this development started many years ago. And we could see also that it influenced our schools, because if you don't have the framework yourself, then it's easy to sort of just slide over to what they're doing in the public schools. But then now we see that in Norway they are moving a little bit away from this, because they see that it's not working and it's not making the children are not more digital competent. It's just more screen. So our advantage is that we have a framework to guide us. So when faced with new things, changes in society and things like that, we can look to our pedagogical principles and practice and apply it. And so we did. So in relation to the curriculum, we adopted some of the competence aims from the public curriculum when it came to digital skills, because we had to, but we moved it a bit higher up in elementary, because we didn't want to start too early. And then we also made this strategy document about Montessori and technology and digital skills. So this is a framework to try to help our schools to work with this within the Montessori foundation. So this was a very good tool for the schools as well, and it's an add-on to the curriculum. So I'm going to try to conclude a little bit, and Mirka will have to say if we have time for questions, but let's see. So our experience has made us even more sure that Montessori education is still very much relevant for the future, maybe even more than ever. It answers many of the priorities and guidelines that are internationally agreed upon and that are important for the future. A government national curriculum can give us the opportunity to exhibit and demonstrate this, and it has proven very supportive here in Norway in many ways. So to give some examples, it gives us more confidence and trust in what you do as a teacher, as school leaders, and even for parents, I think. and it helps us to resist pressure from outside. It also provides shared standards, framework, and stability and quality. It helps us work with more quality. It supports, it gives us support to articulate connections between our curriculum and the public one and international guidelines, but also the differences. It's been very supportive. It's more easy to also say what is different when you have done this work and know the differences. And it's given a pathway to wider recognition here in Norway, and I think that can be relevant internationally as well, to give Montessori a wider recognition. So I hope some of these reflections might also inspire you to have this confidence and trust, and maybe someday you will have a national curriculum in your country, and you're more than welcome to contact us here in Norway. Contact me if you want to learn more about this, or if you want to have some help maybe on which steps you can take to start thinking about a national curriculum in your country. And if anyone wants to see that digital strategy document, that's something that we are willing to share openly. So I can ask Mirka maybe if she can send it out for us if there's any place to put it, or that's something we have shared before.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nina. I'm already brainstorming how to go about creating the European Montessori curriculum together with my colleagues from this project, and we will definitely reach out to you to please support us with your guidance, because you've gone through the process, and even just in these slides and if what you've shared, there's so much wisdom that we can use to, whenever other countries want to do something like this. So thank you. Thank you so much. Let's look at the time. We have 6 minutes. So I wonder if there is anybody who has a question, but I would like to ask you to please put your question in chat, okay? Because we've been having a bit of interruptions from those of you who accidentally unmute. So I don't want to ask people to unmute and speak, because it might get too wild with the 641 of us being in the session. Do you have any questions for Nina? Anyone? And Indre, I can see Indre unmuted. I think she wants to say something. So Indre, go ahead.
Yes, I have a question. I would like to ask you, Nina, from your experience, one part is to have curriculum, and like to make it happen, in a country. But the other part is about implementing this curriculum in schools. And is your association is like oversee this whole process, or do you see like any other, challenges that are facing while implementing, this curriculum?
Yes, that's a good question. And we have, it does take some time. And of course, I didn't have time to speak about the whole process, but it has taken many years also to agree on a curriculum. And that's why it's a good thing that it might be small steps, and it has become more and more Montessori, I would say. But still, we see that we have had a very open process. So the community, the Montessori community, has felt that they are very involved in this process the whole time. They have been heard. We have given them hearing options and given them insights into the work. But still, it's not a fully democratic process, because someone has to set the bar, and we needed to do that. So they are heard, but not everyone gets their will. But still, we see that there's a big sort of they are very pleased about the curriculum, and they use it, and they want to use it. And we have done some, when it was revised recently, then we did a sort of national tour where we spoke about it and the changes, and we did some national implementation and short video courses and things like that. And then it's something that we focus on more. In some of our sessions, we have some courses and platforms where we meet our community, leaders and teachers. And then we always have the curriculum as a framework and work within it. And then I know that also many of them have had more regional places to meet where they have been working with the curriculum. So yes, we have done some steps to implement it. And they have done some for themselves. And some have also actually a cooperation with the university where Carla and Madlena are working, and they are helping with implementations in different regions. So it's not perfect. We would like to really do more of that sort of implementation and helping the schools, but we're not that big even as an organization. So it needed to be in small steps, but yes.
But we do want to mention, Nina, that we are also working on the Global School Accreditation Project, and that schools which enter into the self-study for the Montessori Global Accreditation will be able to do some of this and furthering and development of the work with the implementation, with the help of that. And Nina and I are both part of the Global School Accreditation Committee. So. Let's see, there was a question from somebody. Let's take one. Okay, questions are jumping. Sorry. So question for Nina. You mentioned grades. Do you have grades and how important are they? Do grades make pressure on children?
Well, that's one of the things that there was a lot of different opinions about from the community. Some of the schools are positive to grades. Some of our schools want them completely gone. But in order to get our system of evaluation approved, we couldn't have, we could maybe have gone away from grades, but it would still be grades. I can give you an example, because here in Norway we have Waldorf schools, and Waldorf schools have had their own system of evaluation for many, many years, and they do not give grades, but they give grades, if you know what I mean, because it's they say like very well, fairly well, middle, and it is a system of grades. It's just not a number. And they realize that themselves. So they are actually now speaking about maybe going back to grades because they are sort of giving it anyway. So we decided that yes, we will give grades because that's the only way that our students can get a diploma that will bring them over to have the same opportunities in their next step in education. So we do have that, but we did move away from grades for the first 2 years of adolescence. So we have sort of lessened the focus on it. So they only get grades in the final year. And this gives us an opportunity to do more. And they usually it's not a problem. And exams was a bigger problem because the exams was made for public schools, and they were very much like short image, very it's not giving that full holistic way of assessing that grades in a subject can give. So I think it's still a bit of discussion, and maybe this is a discussion in public schools as well. I have to say that, but it's a big step we've done now, and then we will see in the future. Maybe we will move away from grades.
Thank you. I wish we all could move away from grades and from exams and all of that.
Yeah.
We will not have time for more questions, but I can see there's a lot in chat people are asking. So this was really, really inspiring, Nina. Thank you so much.